Hello, everybody. Welcome to your very favorite Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike-DELL, and as always, I'm joined by...
Mike-DELL of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right, and this week is your pick, and this is a comic I've never read in my life. Why don't you tell everybody what we're reviewing?
Yeah, I like to find the obscure stuff from the 1970s, so this week we're going to go with Black Goliath, issue 4 from 1976. Now, Mike-DELL, are you familiar at all with the Black Goliath character?
I've only come across him, I believe, twice, and that was in Marvel 2-in-1 when he went from Black Goliath to Giant Man, and then I also read Civil War where he was killed.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I was researching this.
Right.
Yeah, Black Goliath is no longer with us. The character's real name is William Barrett Foster, usually called Bill Foster, and his first appearance was in Avengers 32, 1966. And that's when he was just Bill Foster. And he was created by Stan Lee and Don Heck.
Cool.
But then his first appearance as Black Goliath was Power Man 24, 1975. And he was created by Tony Isabella and George Tuska.
Nice. I know Tony Isabella because he created Black Lightning.
Yeah.
And he was a guest at our comic convention a couple years ago.
How about that?
Yep.
And also, Bill Foster, he was married to Claire Temple.
Is that Night Nurse?
Yeah, she was also eventually known as Night Nurse, at least in the day. Now, she's Dr. Claire Temple. You might know her from the Netflix shows as Rosario Dawson.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I had no idea he was married to her, but they divorced, and he was a lab assistant for Hank Pym.
Okay.
And back in the day, I guess Hank Pym was stuck as Giant Man. He was stuck at 10 feet tall, and he needed help, and Tony Stark sent over one of his best men from his Baltimore, what do they call Tony Stark Industries, Research and Development Lab or whatever?
Yeah, it was Stark Industries, whatever.
Yeah, so his Baltimore lab, he sent over his best man, which was Bill Foster. So cool. Foster went over to help Hank Pym, and he found he helped him figure out a way to, return to his normal size. And when he was working with Pym, he memorized the formula for Pym particles. Look out. So then Tony Stark sent Bill Foster to work at the Los Angeles branch of Stark Industries, and Bill Foster was in charge of research and development, and underneath him were three brilliant scientists that he called the Whiz Kids.
Right.
And we see the Whiz Kids in this issue for a little bit. I got to tell you, they don't look that bright, but we'll get to them later. So while he's working at the Stark Industries there in L.A., Bill Foster does some experiments on Pym particles, and he experiments on himself. He's trying to refine them and take away the bad side effects of them, and he succeeds, Mike-DELL. So now he can turn into Black Goliath, 15-foot tall Black Goliath. And that's something.
Yeah,
15 feet.
Cool.
That's like 200 of the giants stacked on top of each other.
Right. It's funny. Did they specify with the original Giant Man? Did they ever say he could only hit a certain height? Do you know?
That's a good question. He was stuck at 10 feet when Foster worked with him, but it seems like he could get bigger than that, though. I mean, 10 feet. It's not that big.
That's not that big, right?
Even 15 is not really that big.
No.
But I guess later on, Black Goliath, he could get as high as like 25 feet.
Gotcha. Okay.
And apparently when he's in his 15-foot form, he weighed about 3,000 pounds.
Oh, interesting.
And in terms of strength, he could press like 5 tons. Which is a lot for a normal human, but, in the world of superheroes, not that much.
Right, not that much at all. Even Spider-Man's stronger.
Yeah. And it's not like he's invulnerable or anything, too. He's just big.
That's what I was we'll get to that later in the story, but, you're right. Even though he's big, it's like if he's falling from a building and he hits the ground, he's still going to be hurt, right?
Or if you shoot him with a gun, he's still dead.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
What else do we need to know here about Bill Foster? All right, in an absurd attempt to win back the love of his wife, Claire Temple, Bill Foster concocted a scheme where he started working at a circus. And he told Claire that he's stuck at 15 foot tall, that he can't, and he's working at a circus sideshow in order to raise enough money to fund his research to how he can cure himself. And he figured this would win Claire back. So Claire Temple goes out to visit him at this circus to see if she can help him. And that of course, at the time, though, Mike-El, Claire Temple was dating Luke Cage.
Ah, okay.
So this is how Black Goliath came into the Power Man issue.
Interesting, okay.
So Luke Cage followed Claire Temple out to the circus. But here, this is just no ordinary circus, Mike-El. This here circus? The Circus of Crime.
No way, really?
Yeah, do you remember the Circus of Crime?
Kind of. Weren't they in Spider-Man?
Yeah, I believe so. They were in a bunch of stuff, but their leader was the Ringmaster.
Okay.
And basically their gimmick was they would put on a circus show for everybody, and then the Ringmaster would hypnotize the crowd with that. Remember he wore that hat with like the spinning wheel on it and stuff?
Right.
And then while the crowd was hypnotized, the other circus performers would go around and pick their pockets and steal all their money.
Interesting. Good trick.
Yeah, so Bill
Suckers.
Foster joined up with this circus, but he had no idea they were the Circus of Crime. So then when they figured this all out, Foster and Luke Cage joined forces to defeat the Circus of Crime. But, Bill Foster did not win back Claire Temple's love. She stayed with Luke Cage and left him. So that was the last we saw of him until this issue here, or not this issue, but he got his own regular series in 1976. And it lasted 5 issues.
Yeah.
And we're doing
Yikes.
issue 4 today. Yeah, it's like the Dakota North. 5 seems to be the limit.
Why did you pick this issue?
Because the villain is Stiltman.
Right. You like the Stiltman, eh?
I love Stiltman.
All right.
So we'll get into Stiltman here in a minute. But, when they started issue 1 of this series, they had to come up with a way that he's back to normal size, and he's not working at the circus anymore. So Tony Isabella, he said, well, I'll just make it that Bill Foster just concocted that whole scheme. It was a scheme to try and win Claire Temple back. That makes Bill Foster seem like an asshole.
Yeah.
That he would lie about that. And
Right.
It makes him seem kind of pathetic.
Right.
So that's really how you undermine your protagonist for a book. Make him seem pathetic.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. All right, so as we mentioned, the villain here, Stiltman. What do you know about Stiltman, Mike-El?
Oh, boy. I mean, I've only come across him in, I think, Daredevil and maybe Spider-Man a few times. I don't know much about him other than I think his stilts kind of defy the laws of gravity a little bit.
Well, they're gyroscopic,
Well,
telescoping legs.
let's put it this way. I work with tripods every day, and I know one thing. The higher you go, the wider you got to go. So
He's got these special gyroscopes that balance them.
Okay. Because to me, if you're like as tall as a building, your legs have to be spread out for the whole city block in order to stay balanced. But if you say he's got these gyroscopes, then
Gyroscopes, Mike-El.
Okay.
That's the secret.
all right, all right.
The gyroscopes.
I'd like to get some of those. Okay.
Yeah. Stiltman's real name is Wilbur Day, and he was a scientist working for I think the place was Claxton or something like that. And he stole the plans for these telescoping gyroscopic legs, and he devised his own little armored suit.
Huh.
So he became Stiltman, so he could pursue a life of crime.
Cool.
And his first appearance was Daredevil issue 8, 1965, and he was created by Stan Lee and Wally Wood. And his normal size is 5'6", 150 pounds.
Okay.
But when he's in his Stiltman armor, he can grow to 292 feet tall.
And his feet are still like 7 inches apart, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're very small because the feet are kind of like, he's 5'6". He doesn't need big feet.
Right.
But later on, Mike, if you recall, I did a written flea market fantasy column for the Syndicate a few years back where Thor actually fought Stilt Man.
Okay.
Walt Simonson drew it.
Okay.
And remember, we actually had Walt Simonson actually responded to you on Twitter when you tweeted about it.
Jeez, I don't even remember that. Really? What did he say? Do you remember?
Just like the villain in it was Stilt Man, but there's also a big computer.
Okay.
And the computer had an acronym name, and I can't remember what it stood for, but Walt Simonson wrote back about something about what it stood for, like...
Oh. I found the article, but I'll have to dig up the tweet later.
But yeah, in that issue, he was fighting Thor because his armor had been upgraded to like adamantium, and it'd been superpowered, so he was able to fight Thor.
Wow.
I know, it's pretty ridiculous. But Stiltman was a recurring villain here in Daredevil. He was in there all the time. He appeared in 4 of Daredevil's first 27 issues, and in 6 of the first 67. So he was pretty common in the early days of Daredevil. Once a year, at least, you'd be seeing Stiltman pop up. So that's pretty good. And later, he was recruited by Electro to join Electro's Emissaries of Evil.
Okay. I do not know these guys, no.
Yeah, I never knew him either, because I read all the early Daredevils, but this was in Daredevil Giant-Sized 1, which I have never read.
Huh, okay.
So I guess it's like a knockoff Sinister Six, you know?
Sure,
Electro's Emissaries of Evil. Would you like to guess at the members of the Emissaries of Evil?
Oh,
they're all old school Daredevil villains.
Oh boy, well, there's not many that I know, so I'm gonna guess Purple Man.
Nope.
Okay, the Owl.
Nope.
Oh boy, I'm doing good so far. Oh,
those are pretty good guesses, though.
I'm running out of Daredevil villains. Holy moly.
One of the guys was featured in the Netflix show.
Oh, Bullseye.
No, old school. Old school Daredevil.
Okay. Who am I forgetting here?
All right, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, you'll just have to tell me.
You're struggling. Gladiator.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay.
And then Leapfrog.
Leapfrog? I thought Leapfrog was a Spider-Man villain.
He was old school Daredevil.
Okay.
Back in the day. Matador.
Wow, okay.
Remember? He was literally just a matador. And then we had Electro and Stiltman, so just the 5 of them.
Huh.
But, Electro's Emissaries of Evil. And we have a new contender for worst supervillain team.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I still say the Enforcers are worse. And remember the Enforcers in Daredevil?
Yeah, I think so. Who were the Enforcers again?
Like 3 dudes. You had Ox.
Oh,
big, strong
yes.
dude. Then you had some guy with a lasso.
Right.
And some dude with a mustache.
But don't forget the terrible trio. Remember them?
Is that the Batman guys with the masks?
Yep. I think they were like Hawk or... No, it was like... I don't remember who they were, but they were terrible. They just had masks. They were just guys in suits with masks on their faces.
Yeah.
Fox, Vulture, and Shark.
Shark.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the Stiltman, and a couple other things real quick about Black Goliath. As you mentioned, he did eventually become Giant Man 2,
right?
The second Giant Man, and then he changed his name to just Goliath, dropped the black, and as you mentioned, he died during Civil War.
Right.
I've never read Civil War, so I had no idea. But do you remember how he died?
Honestly, I don't remember. I just know that when he died, he was in his full 15-foot form. So when they had his funeral, his what's that called? His grave was 15 feet by whatever, 5 feet by 6 feet.
Well, I think he may have even actually been bigger at that point.
Yeah,
he may have been 25 feet at that point. But he was killed by a Thor clone named Ragnarok.
I thought his name was Clor.
I read Ragnarok.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Maybe Clor was like a joke name, but anyway.
But yeah, he shot him through the chest with a big old lightning bolt. And it killed him. So yeah, poor Black Goliath.
Didn't he? You're telling me they never brought him back?
I don't think. I think he had like a nephew or something who kind of tried to take over.
Okay.
Because they like to do that sort of stuff. But
yeah, it looks like he's not back. Huh.
How about that? So this issue is written by Chris Claremont. You may have heard of him.
Absolutely.
He wrote Black Goliath 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And this was when he was 26 years old. His first regular work was doing Iron Fist stories in Marvel Presents, and that was in 1975, so this is just 1 year later.
Okay.
So this is very young Chris Claremont.
Right.
And the artist here is Rich Buckler, who we've talked about before on the show, and he's 27 here, and this is the only issue he did of Black Goliath.
We should also mention the inker. Did you look up anything about Don Heck?
Oh, I did not research anything about Don Heck.
I'll just say quickly, a lot of people don't like Don Heck. I'm a huge fan. He drew a lot of early Daredevils and a lot of early Avengers. And if you just go to the first page, the second panel, you can see the blonde-haired guy's face. That's 100% Don Heck. He's got a very distinctive style. So, yeah, I'm a fan.
Yeah. Don Heck, old school.
Yep.
All right, so let's look at the issue. Here it is, number 4, Black Goliath. 15 feet of fighting fury, Mike-El.
Yeah, very
That's
specific.
the catchphrase. Versus the Stilt Man. And we should mention the cover's drawn by some guy named Jack Kirby.
That's right.
He seems talented, Jack Kirby.
I would say, yep.
Yeah, this cover's awesome. It's a classic comic book cover. There's Black Goliath and Stilt Man. Stilt Man punching him. Crap.
Right. And then we get this. I love this. The bystanders. That's a key, part of a superhero fight. Seeing them on the street, right?
Yeah, because they're like down below. Because Stilt Man's extended up high, and Black Goliath is tall. And Black Goliath is he's like way off the ground here. Even though he's tall, he's way off the ground. And so yeah, the pedestrians and the onlookers down below look very small, and they're fighting in between buildings. It's a great cover, Mike-El. This is what you want in a comic book cover.
Yep, and I got to point out, I love his leg. We talked about his legs earlier, but look how twisted his torso is compared to his legs. That's classic Kirby, right?
Yeah.
Like his legs are like, one is one, position. One is like 15 feet away, but they're like almost twisted because he's punching so hard. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I guess I've seen Jim Lee talk about drawing figures and stuff, and he says you make the hips and you make the torso, the rib cage.
Oh, yeah.
And you try and twist them as much as possible without making them look ridiculous. Like when you try to get them as
Kirby, right? I remember that interview. Yeah, he mentions Kirby as putting them as far away as possible without looking ridiculous, like you said.
And also the legs look just how they're interlaced. Like Black Goliath's right leg is in between Stilt Man's legs, and Stilt Man. Yeah, it's just a tremendous cover.
Right.
So, and in the bottom right corner, there's a red box. When giants clash.
Yep. And then we got to talk about this corner box. It's Giant Man shrinking down into Bill Foster. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen that in a corner box.
Yeah, Black Goliath shrinking down.
Oh, what did I call
Bill
him?
Foster. Giant Man.
Oh, well, he becomes
Eventually.
Eventually. Yeah.
But Black Goliath. And we got to talk about Black Goliath's costume, Michael.
Okay.
Describe it for the kids.
So we've got, it's obviously skin tight. But he's got a blue shirt. I'll start from the top. So he's got a yellow. Again, there's no name for this thing, but one of those gigantic, like butterfly collars. I don't know what you'd call this, but it's gigantic. It's like it sticks out higher than his head. Yeah,
it sticks up straight up in the back and around the sides, so it's really high around the sides.
And then
he's
got
You would think like that would have to hurt your peripheral vision, right? I mean.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, if you're a hero. You want to be able to see.
And then he's got a blue mask that covers up, like around his eyes and the sides of his face. But then he's got bare skin underneath that. So he's got like a low-cut bare skin, kind of top there. Then he has a blue shirt that has sleeves leaving his mid-arms bare with yellow gloves. Then he has the rest of his blue shirt there's a giant hole cut in the front.
Yeah.
And so he has like a partially bare chest, which is really weird.
Yeah, it shows off his abs.
It shows off the bottom part of his pecs and his abs. It's so weird.
Mike-El, are you familiar with the wrestler Tony Nese?
No, never heard of him.
Well, he's a current wrestler in WWE 205 Live usually, but he wears a shirt exactly like this to show off his 8-pack abs.
Really?
And then when he walks down to the ring, he counts off his abs for you. But so that's what I was thinking of when I see Black Goliath's shirt. He wants to make sure you can see that he's got ripped abs. Yeah.
You know what's funny is there's a trend of giants in Marvel having bare chests, because if you go look at Giant Man 2, which was actually, what's his name, Hawkeye? What's his real identity? Clint Barton.
Clint Barton, yep.
He was Giant Man, and he also had a mostly bare chest. So, yeah, there's a trend there for sure.
But yeah, he's got the big yellow gloves, like you said, and then his pants are all blue, and he's got the full legs and big yellow boots.
Right.
And a yellow belt.
Yeah,
it's interesting, this costume.
It's a good color design, but yeah, the bare abs is ridiculous. That has to go, but everything else is okay.
Well, the collar's also a little weird.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, that's pure 70s, obviously.
Yeah. So, all right, so the book opens on the big splash page here. Oh, Mike-El, read the Stan Lee Presents, that yellow box at the top, because this is tremendous.
Bill Foster, Dr. William Barrett Foster, Doctor of Science, I guess, PhD,
yes.
A child of the ghetto, who has pulled
in ghettos in all caps.
Right.
All caps.
Who has pulled himself up out of the Los Angeles slums to become director of one of the nation's most prestigious research labs. A man whose research has given him the power to instantaneously grow to a height of 15 feet, big letters, with the strength of a true giant. A man who has become a hero. Stan Lee Presents Black Goliath.
Like, why do you think they capped it at 15 feet?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea.
Why not 25? Why not 50? Why not, I don't know.
And it's also like I said, I've never noticed them be so specific about growing or shrinking characters' height, so it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it makes it tough for the artist as well, because you got to keep everything in perspective with a 15-footer, like
right.
It's tricky. It's very tricky. All right, so yeah, the book opens. I guess the title here is Enter Stiltman. How many times do you think a variation of that title has been used in comic book history?
Oh, I know.
Enter, and then someone, Enter Stiltman.
Black Goliath. The only title more used is The Sins of the Father. A billion times a title.
Brother versus brother.
Right.
But yeah, Enter Stiltman. I forgot you did to say the second half. Exit Black Goliath. That's
right.
So there are three guys trying to escape. It seems like they just robbed a bank or something. It seems like a bank, right? $5 million in cash and negotiable securities. Yeah. The rip-off of the century. But then they hear a bump on the roof of their truck, and it's Black Goliath. And he's ripping the top of their truck off.
Yeah, and he's exactly 15 feet tall, and he's ripping that roof off. And the three guys are all shocked, and we got some Chris Claremont dialogue here, which is pretty good. Chris Claremont is obviously, he's a big reader. His dialogue's very wordy, right? Correction, gentlemen, you almost pulled it off. But as with so many things these days, almost is nowhere near good enough. It's just funny. I don't know. It doesn't flow well. It's good, but it doesn't flow well.
Well, this is terrible here.
Yeah. Wait, on the next page, you mean? This is bad.
Where he says, "Oh, by the way."
Yeah. Well, wait. Okay, sorry. On page 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, if you're wondering how I found you, why not call it magic? But then, thought bubble, you call it magic. I'll call it a microcircuit police band transceiver worked into the fabric of my belt. Modern technology strikes again. Yeah, that's rough.
That's very much Roy Thomas-like.
Yeah. I mean, I think most of the writers were kind of writing in the same style at this time, right? They were all kind of imitating.
And again, these are children's picture books. So
right.
Yeah. I think we hold them to a higher standard than they were meant to have. But
yes.
Yeah. So, but then the guys start shooting at him. The one guy has a gun there, and he's like, "Pow!" and he shoots at him. And the driver says, "Kill him." I'm trying, but for crying out loud. But how are you supposed to hit a freaking giant? I think it'd be easy, right?
Yeah.
To hit a giant.
Because he's 15
feet tall, and he's right there. He's like right there.
Uh-huh.
I think it'd be pretty easy to hit him, but nope, not this guy. He's shooting everywhere except at the Black Goliath.
See, we get some more of this Claremont verboseness. Besides, why stay on top of a truck that's heading straight into that, and then that wall? They finish his sentence, right?
Yeah.
And then they crash, and then they're like, Eddie, you dumb crock, turn the truck, we're gonna crash. And then Giant Man or Black Goliath says, wrong tense, pal, you have crashed. Whatever. Oh,
but I like this though.
Wait, so when in doubt, as Hank Pym used to say, improvise. Is that what you were going to say you liked?
Well, yeah, I like when he, because his improvisation there is ripping off the top of a fire hydrant and then using his thumb to direct the water.
Yeah, see, that's a smart use of his power. Right?
Yeah,
of
it's
his
pretty cool.
Giantness. Yeah, that's cool.
But again, I'm a little confused about, would a 15-foot tall guy be able to do that with his thumb? Like, I don't know. You almost have to be bigger, right? I don't know.
Right.
It's tough to tell.
Well, because you got to think, okay, so if an average male is 6 feet and he's 15, it's like you said, it's like barely twice. It's like, 2.5 times the size of an average person. But you're right, his hand seems too big.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's weird.
So it's funny because then he sees this guy with his rifle and he's like, that rifle he's carrying, where have I seen it before? And then the guy sets it up and then he shoots him and he's like, I knew it looked familiar. The APC was part of a shipment of old Stark international weaponry that was stolen off Humans back. And of course, the guy tells him what it's called. He's like, I don't think, big man, I know. And this ain't just a rifle, it's an anti-proton cutter. So that's how he knows it's called an APC.
And it's not just a rifle, it's like a rifle with a hose connected to a little box.
Yeah.
So like the power supply.
Right.
So, but yeah, he shoots this whatever a proton emitter thing or cutter or whatever, and it's slicing right through the truck.
Yep.
And so Black Goliath has to do something here.
Yeah, so he decides to jump. And what is he doing here? Yeah, he just jumps, I guess.
Yeah, he starts jumping around like an acrobat. I mean, it's pretty crazy for a 15-footer to be doing that, but
right.
All right.
And then the guy's like, what's he doing? He's moving so fast I can't get a clear shot at him. That's the idea, crumb. See, and then the thought bubble, he's frozen in his tracks, too scared to make a move. Guess there's something about being tackled by a Goliath that'll freak out anyone. Yeah, that's convenient, right?
But then Goliath doesn't tackle the guy.
Right.
He jumps over the guy and just smashes the power supply to the gun.
Right. He's like, don't sweat it, Junior. I'm not after you. Yeah, he smashes it. Then he
picks up the guy.
Right.
And he's like, all right. Now, this is where things get a little weird because he starts having a flashback.
It's very confusing, yes.
And we should mention, it's like an omniscient narrator doing all this issue. It's not.
Yes.
It's not Black Goliath narrating it. It's an omniscient. So it gets a little weird.
Yes, I noticed that because it flashes back to earlier in the day when he was with his whiz kids. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the whiz kids. There's 3 brilliant scientists.
Right. So he's hanging out with them, and then all of a sudden there's a call from Tony Stark.
Should we talk about the whiz kids' outfits? They're very weird.
Well, first of all, I believe this woman's Indian, right? Or something, which is unusual at the time for,
I just assumed she was black.
No, I think she's Indian, because I actually read 1 to 3A.
Oh, see, I didn't read 1 to 3.
Yeah, and I think she's Indian, but that's unusual. But yeah, so the redhead guy is wearing a blue skin-tight outfit. The Indian woman...
They all kind of look like superhero outfits.
Yeah.
Or something from the future. From the future.
Right. This was during a time where, they couldn't just give them regular clothes. They have to sort of vaguely be superheroes themselves. Even though the guy on the left looks like a comic book editor.
Yes,
one
he's
guy, right?
Overweight with glasses.
Right.
And the other guy's a redhead with freckles.
Right.
And but Bill Foster's dressed in normal clothes.
Right. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Anyway. So, like you were saying, Bill Foster gets a call from Tony Stark, and they're FaceTiming.
Right.
I don't know.
But again, it can't just be a regular little monitor or a computer. It's got to be this giant Kirby-esque weird thing with dials and lines and designs on it, right?
Yep.
And so basically, this not a briefcase. I'm thinking of Wonder Woman. What is it that's been stolen here?
Well, it was like a crate. It was like a big crate
right.
of...
And that was stolen in the previous issue. And Tony Stark didn't know about it, so he's just finding out now.
Yeah.
And so Tony Stark flips out because he finds out that the thing's been stolen. So then, and this is where it gets wonky, as you said, because then he hangs up on him. But the flashback, instead of continuing from the point of view of Bill Foster, it continues from the point of view of Tony Stark.
Yes.
And so Tony Stark is now kind of arguing with one of his employees, I guess. Who is this guy?
It seems like a government bean counter. Like, I don't know. Some sort of a guy who's putting the clamps on Stark. And you can't spend this much money.
Right, and he doesn't trust Bill Foster, but Tony Stark does. And then, so he's arguing with him, and then we cut back to Bill Foster, who's hanging out with the Whiz Kids, and he tells them how Tony Stark just hung up on him, and then it's funny, because then it cuts to the next scene, and we see a kid running, who's got the same almost colored clothes as Bill Foster. So at first I thought it was him.
So did I.
Right. And he's black, but he's obvious. Then we find out later it's a teenager, so it's obviously not Bill Foster. But that was confusing. Well, because also 2 panels later he has different colored clothes, so obviously the colorist must have colored him wrong, right?
Yeah, but he's going to the LA Police Department, and he runs in and he's looking for Black Goliath, and he just happens to be there. I guess.
I know, but he's also. He's like, I came to tell you, the bank my aunt sent me told me to find you in Goliath. Sergeant Perez, our bank's being robbed. That's banks. Yeah, like.
So let's review. The issue opens with the aftermath of a bank robbery.
Right. Black
Goliath stops the crooks. Then we have a flashback to earlier that morning where Bill Foster is having a conversation with Tony Stark, and then we flash back to the present where Black Goliath is in the LA Police Department after foiling the first bank robbery, and then he finds out that there's another bank robbery going on. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Why have 2 bank robberies in the same issue?
Yeah, it's not great.
No, it's not. So, and then we break from that as they go. There's a cop here who's like buddies with Black Goliath. I forget his name. But so they're going to go try and stop the bank robbery, and then we cut to another scene, Mike-El, of a junkie and his girlfriend.
Right. And they're kind of arguing back and forth, and
the point of their argument is that he's one of the guys who stole the big Tony Stark crate of weapons and technology.
Right. So it all ties together. And she's all worried because he's going to end up in jail, and he's like, "Shut your mouth, woman!" And then he slaps her, of course. Slap.
Yep,
we actually have a sound effect. Slap. I said, "Shut your mouth." Oh, hey, Reggie, hon, I didn't mean that. Honest, you made me mad, hon. Get away, Jerry. Get out of my life and leave me be. Hey, you don't mean that. You know you don't, Reggie. Don't leave me, please. And then we see the box. A door closes, voices fade, a room falls silent, and in that silence, a box begins to glow.
Yeah, it's glowing.
Right? So now we cut back to the present with the second bank robbery, right?
Yes.
And then we see Black Goliath walking up with his bare 8-pack abs.
Yep. That's the other thing about this Black Goliath. I like him as a character. He's he seems like a nice guy and everything. If you forget about the stuff about him lying to his ex-wife and joining a circus, forget about all that. Okay. But he's a likable protagonist in this issue. But he's like, Bill Foster's super jacked already. Like, I would like it better if he was just like a normal scientist guy. Like, he's super muscular as a scientist. I don't know if...
Good point.
Anyway.
It seems unlikely, right?
Yes.
So the cops are already surrounding this bank. This bank robbery is taking so long. This teenager had enough time to run to find Black Goliath. Then they had time to drive over, and it's still going on. But anyway, it turns out the person robbing the bank is none other than Stiltman.
Yeah. And he just busts out right through the roof of the bank.
Right.
Boosh. Bread I am.
Yep. And then we get a really cool, full-page splash page of them fighting in the street. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
this is awesome. Big Black Goliath, 15 feet tall, fighting Stiltman with he's like equal height with him. But again, perspective of things here is a little tricky, just because.
Oh yeah, good point. I didn't think of that.
Stiltman is only supposed to be 5'6". You know.
So even if his height is equal, his torso should be half as big, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so even though Stiltman can be as tall as Black Goliath, proportionally, he would not be as big as Black Goliath.
Right. Exactly.
So even though the art here is awesome, like it's classic comic book art by Buckler, you know, the proportions are a little weird. But
yes, good point. Good point. Didn't even think about that. But yeah, it's a cool shot. So they start fighting, and yeah, we get a couple. I mean, these are definitely some good panels, but like it's a little bit awkward because when you're looking at these panels, it's not obvious that he's a giant, that Black Goliath is a giant.
Yeah.
And that they're up in the air. Like, I wish there was buildings in the background to show
Yeah, all the backgrounds are just solid colors.
Right. So it's well drawn, but yeah, it just looks like two regular superheroes and, well, a superhero and villain fighting.
Agreed. Yeah,
right.
We need something for perspective there, yeah.
So then so the one cop doesn't really trust Bill Foster, so these cops just start shooting at him. And then,
yeah, they're shooting at Stiltman, but they're like, "What about Bill? What about Black Goliath?" And they're like, if he gets hit, he gets hit.
Yeah, too bad. He'll have to take his chances. So then Stiltman's like, "Watch yourself, you oversized fool." With friends like those policemen, you have no need of enemies. And then Bill Foster's basically, it looks like he's grazed on the shoulder.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's right. These bullets aren't hurting him a bit inside that armor. Whose side is Adams on anyway? So yeah, so then he's like, "Thanks for the advice. I guess our only solution is to take our fight out of the kill zone." So he knocks them over, and it looks like oh yeah, so he's bringing them onto the roof now, right? I think.
Yeah, but then they're on the ground then, so I think they just fall to the ground. I don't know.
This is confusing. And then the next page, Stiltman, he extends his legs like 50 feet in the air. And then he just brings him up really high and just drops him. So again, this is weird because, as we said, Stiltman is a normal-sized person, but he's somehow able to kind of like hoist up this giant man and then drop him, which seems unrealistic, but whatever.
Well, I guess the armor could give him strength.
Okay, sure.
So that could possibly work. But again, like when he's tackling Stiltman and stuff, like their upper bodies seem exactly the same size.
Right. Okay, so the next page is my favorite in the whole book, okay? So
yes.
The next page, Black Goliath is falling, and it says 5 seconds of impact.
He's falling from 300 feet. Like,
yes. So, no time at all, and yet an infinity. And then Black Goliath in his head, only one chance, and a thin one at that. But like the man says, when it's the only game in town, got to angle my body, twist towards that condemned building from across the bank, ground under it, was liquefied by the... he's thinking all this as he's falling.
In 5 seconds.
Yeah, by the similar quake. Maybe enough so that my giant body will survive. Who you kidding, Foster? You haven't got a prayer. Seal up. And then he hits Barakam. That's him hitting. Okay, then the next panel. In a moment, it's all over but the crying. That is the best part of the whole book. And then what's her name? Cecilia or no?
Celia.
Celia.
Like this was that kid's aunt who he showed up to get Black Goliath and Cop. And I guess in the previous issues, Mike-El, she also helped save Black Goliath after he was in a fight with the Atom Smasher, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, she runs up, Goliath. And then as the shock of impact gives way to the, I don't even know what this word is, susurrus of collapsing masonry. I don't even know what that word is.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I have no idea what that is either. Susurrus. Wow. Sounds like a dinosaur.
Yeah, at least Chris Claremont's well-read. We know that, but maybe he made up this word. So then Stiltman takes Celia hostage.
And again, look at the proportions on this. Like, Stiltman looks enormous next to Celia. Like, he picks her up with one arm.
Right.
And his upper body is, like, way bigger than her.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then the teenager kind of breaks through the police barrier and starts running after them. But then, Black Goliath is like Hulk Hogan. He's revived. He psychs himself up, and now he's back at full strength, right?
And he's screaming, Stiltman!
Right.
Yeah.
Rakow. So then he punches the wall, and there's debris everywhere. And then I love this.
Yeah.
Stiltman gets hit in the eye, and he's like, "No, I don't believe it. That fall should have killed you. My eyes!" And then
because Celia puts her fingernails across his eyes. She tries to gouge his eyes.
And I love this because he's like, or the narration's like, her assault is physically ineffectual, but the metal-encased madman drops her just the same, paralyzed momentarily by a phobia he has born, and then, since his eyes were once slashed at by the famed Falcon's trained hawk, Red Wing. And see Captain America 191. I love that. It's so funny.
So lucky that he was traumatized by an eagle before, or a hawk, or whatever.
Oh man, that's funny. So then she kind of gets away, and then the kid comes up and runs her, tries to rescue her, and then he extends his legs again, so now he's really high up, and then Black Goliath's like, Stiltman, you fights with me.
Read what Stiltman says though. No one is safe from the power of my latest weapon. ... A weapon I'll use.
Yeah. This is also weird. Yeah. Like, that's terrible. But
and he's got a ray gun, and he shoots it at him, and the kid tackles Celia out of the way. His aunt, he tackles her out of the way.
Right.
And
so then
we have Black Goliath. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, Stiltman, your fight's with me, remember? Leave Seal and the boy out of this. And then he's like, from the tone of your voice, Goliath, I sense strong affection for that woman. All the better. It's only fitting that a man dies surrounded by the ones he loved. And so basically now, so this is awesome. So he's setting up his ray gun. He's like, you should be honored, for you will be the first to feel the awesome power of the Stiltman's deadliest creation, his incomparable Z-Ray, or as you would say, Z-Ray.
Yeah, Z-Ray.
Z-Ray.
Yeah, Z-Ray.
And then they just vanish. Goliath!
Yeah.
They're gone. So then Stiltman's like, by all that's holy, it worked. You'd think he would have tested it, right? Like, before he used it, but conveniently it worked. So then he's like, the powers of my Z-Ray have been proven. Black Goliath is no more. And then there's a big chunk of dialogue. And where he has fallen, so will fall my dearly hated foes, Captain America, and most especially Daredevil. No more will Stiltman play the mere assassin, no more the hireling. Now I will assume the role I was born to play, that of ruler and perhaps of God. The end. And
that's how the book ends.
Yeah, weird ending.
That's the final panel, though. Stiltman standing tall, as they say in the wrestling business. Literally and figuratively here.
Right.
And next issue, Celia and Keith trapped on an alien world where their only thoughts are of survival, and their only hope is Black Goliath. Yeah, so apparently, did you read issue 5, Mike-El?
No, not yet, but I'm probably going to.
Apparently, the Z-Ray, as you like to say, it transported Celia, Keith, and Black Goliath to an alien planet.
Makes sense, right?
I mean, guess. I just don't know if that's... It seems like this Black Goliath is very much a street-level hero.
Right.
And to put him off into an alien environment in issue 5 seems a little weird. I probably would not have done that. It could be a reason why the series ended after 5 issues.
Yeah, like the Z-Ray thing is really bad. It's one thing for there to be like a Deus Ex Machina, but it's another thing for it to not even do, like for the person using it not even to know what it does. Like it sounds like Stiltman didn't know this was going to happen, right? So it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, they're a little surprised that it actually worked at least.
Right.
In theory, I will send them to an alien... Yeah, I don't even know if he knows they're being sent to an alien planet.
Right.
Like, I think he thinks they just were dissolved or, whatever.
Right.
So, Black Goliath, there it is, issue 4. I actually enjoyed it, Mike. It was a fun book. Claremont's writing here, it is what it is. I don't like the flashback and then the 2 bank robberies. And it was very confusing there for a little bit.
Right.
But we get a lot of action. He stops that first bank robbery. That was fun. And he fights Stiltman. So there's a lot of good stuff here in terms of the writing, I guess.
Well, yeah. Like the thing is it is all over the place. But I always enjoy Claremont to some extent. And I feel like, you can kind of smooth over those rough edges as you're reading it, right? Because it's enjoyable.
It is very much a fun 70s comic book, I would say.
Right.
In that thing. And like I said, I like Foster. He's like a likable protagonist. if you forget about lying to the ex-wife and joining a circus. But his costume's unique, definitely unique. The art here, Rich Buckler. I'm a big Buckler fan because I think he's a classic comic book guy along the lines of Kirby and Buscema. So, like a lot of dynamic poses, a lot of dynamic action.
Well, and also, the inking is a little sketchy, but I think Don Heck does bring something to it. Like, I think he gives it like a loose, really dynamic feel, and I really like that.
Yeah, if you like Kirby and Buscema, you'll like this kind of stuff.
Right.
Just classic Marvel comic book art.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of the art. The story's a little goofy, but still, I had fun reading it, Mike-El.
Yeah, I had fun reading it. It just kind of reiterates my plan to read every single comic written before 1991. And by the way, that feat has almost been accomplished by a friend of mine, Kevin. And so that's kind of where I got the idea. You read comics here and there, and then after a while, you're like, I'm just going to read them all. Why not, right? So,
well, there's no way he read every comic book. But
no. But from a certain year to a certain year, like Marvel 61 to about 91, I think he's read everything.
There's no way.
Oh, no, I'm telling you right now. Okay, maybe take out romance comics and westerns, but I will confirm with him.
So you're telling me he would have read Black Goliath 1 through 5?
Oh, there is not even a question. 100% he's read it.
You're telling me he rated The Human Fly 1 through 19?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
I would say there's a doubt.
I can ask him to confirm. In fact, I will message him now, and then I'll let you know when he gets back to me.
Why don't you get this Kevin character on the show, then?
I could, yeah. He's very hard to get a hold of, but I'll do my best.
He's too busy reading comic books.
Right. He has more comic books than anyone you've ever met, I think, in my opinion.
And more than you?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
How old is this fella?
I think he's a couple years older than me.
All right, so he's had a few years of a head start on reading.
But let's put it this way: I spend average between $5 and $20 a week at the comic shop. He spends between $100 and $200. So,
I could believe he's read every the main books, but every Marvel book, that seems a little much.
Definitely superhero stuff. Like I said, don't count westerns and romances and all that, but definitely the mainline superhero stuff for sure.
I've considered picking a Night Nurse book to do on the show.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I think there's only 4 issues. Night Nurse.
I mean, why not, right?
Yeah.
It's a romance comic, right?
This is before she was Clara Temple. This was when she was a white lady and she was actually a nurse.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Because someone did the art who we talked about on the show.
John Romita?
No, I don't think it's someone we talked about on the show and we liked their art, but it's kind of more of an obscure artist or not so, and can't remember who it is now.
Okay.
But so I don't know. Who knows? Maybe a Night Nurse will pop up here soon.
There you go.
Market Fantasy. Never know. So anything else about Black Goliath, Mike? What would you give it? 1 out of 10?
Ooh, I was struggling with that as I was reading it. I think the highest I could go is 5.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoyed it, but there's nothing great about it. There's just nothing. There's nothing bad about it. Nothing great about it. But yeah,
there's a lot of great. There's a lot of great about it. There's Stilt Man. There's a big fight with Stilt Man. Yeah, so that's all you need.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's it's baseline what I expect from a solid '70s Marvel comic. It's definitely good fun. But yeah, I don't think I could go higher than a 5. Maybe a 6 if I was feeling generous. How about you?
So you're telling me that Wonder Woman from last week, you like reading that more than this?
I think slightly better, definitely. Yep.
Ridiculous. All right, I'm going 7 on this.
What?
Just because Stiltman. Stiltman's amazing.
Okay.
Anything with Stiltman in it gets at least a 7. This is awesome. Okay. And again, I love the art by Rich Buckler. It's tremendous, and young Claremont, flaws and all.
Okay.
But yeah, I like Black Goliath.
Yeah, the art helps for sure.
I like Black Goliath. So without Stiltman, a 6. With Stiltman, 7. So there you go.
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find out real quick who that artist was thinking of with the Night Nurse, but I don't know. All right, Mike-El, so what's going on next week?
All right, next week. Well, I know you like Denny O'Neil, right?
Yeah, not really.
Okay. I know you like heroin, right?
I love heroin.
All right, everybody does. That's why we are going to read Green Lantern, Green Arrow, number 85. The famous issue where Speedy becomes a heroin addict. Yep.
What year is this?
This is 1972, I think.
Yeah, I was going to guess 72-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, Speedy. For those who don't know Speedy, he's like the Robin to Green Arrow, right?
That's right. That's right. And this was a brief run where Green Lantern and Green Arrow teamed up for, I think, about a year or so. And every issue they dealt with a different social issue, like, overpopulation, racism, this, that, and the other. And in this issue, they dealt with drug abuse. And in one issue, they solved it.
Thank God.
And also, I have to point out that this series is by many considered the beginning of the Bronze Age.
Well, not this issue.
No, not this issue, but this run.
But yeah, there's a run. Yeah.
So this is from September 71.
I would also agree that this Green Arrow, Green Lantern is the beginning of the Bronze Age, because you know why? It's not Superman. A year later, getting rid of kryptonite. Whoopity-doo. That had nothing to do with it. I'm looking at Night Nurse, Mike-El. The original Night Nurse, her name, Linda Carter.
Really? Come on.
Yeah, but it's spelled Linda.
Okay.
I think our beloved Linda spells it with a Y. But yeah, it's crazy, Linda Carter. And the artist for some of these issues was a fellow named Win Mortimer.
Oh, yes, I know him. He's a Supergirl artist, right?
See, that's what issue would it have been that... What issue did we do with Supergirl in it? It was like was it an anthology?
It was it Christmas with the Superheroes?
No, it was the one where Johnny Double...
with Becca, the one... the one with
Captain Midnight
Dr.
and all
Midnight.
that stuff.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, so I think Win Mortimer was an artist in one of those stories.
Okay.
I think. But I liked his art.
Yeah, so he's a great artist, for sure. Yeah. He's a classic, DC-style artist. But just for the record, Kevin has gotten back to me. Would you like me to read his response?
Yes.
Okay. I asked him, I said, quick question, have you read Black Goliath and the Human Fly? I said, my co-host doubts you have. I insist you have. Or sorry, my co-host doubts you haven't, or whatever. You get it. So then he writes back, I did read most of them, was missing one issue of Black Goliath, but plan on rereading it. Human Fly, of course. I have read some, but not all, because I have a hard time finishing all the issues to buy on my list. By the way, when I say he's read them, I don't mean digitally. I mean he's bought the individual issues and read them, okay? So then he follows up, but why wouldn't I read them? Part of Marvel, and they are comic books. Oh, no, I think he means part of Marvel and their comic books. Sorry, go ahead.
Get this guy on the show.
I think he'd be good, yeah.
Let him pick whatever issue he wants to do.
Sure. There you go.
Yeah. I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
But I think my point was proven, though. He didn't read all of them.
Okay, you got me there. But he's read most of them.
Score one for the good guys.
Okay.
But the fact that he knew Black Goliath and Human Fly is still impressive.
Of course.
Most people do not.
Sometimes I'll ask him, hey, Kev, have you read this? And he'll almost feel like he'll get that insulted look on his face. You know what I mean?
Is he like the comic book guy from The Simpsons?
No, not like that.
Okay.
Not quite. No. But anyway. Okay, so I guess that's it for this week then, right?
Yeah, it's pretty quick, it seemed. But not a lot to say about Black Goliath.
Well, it was a good issue. Yeah, there was nothing controversial about it. But yeah, it was a good, solid superhero issue, for sure.
I liked it. Did you say who the artist is for the Green Arrow, Green Lantern stuff?
Oh, it's Neil Adams himself.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Classic
So that's
stuff.
next week.
That's right.
Issue 85, correct?
Yep. Yeah, I sent you the link, so.
All right, sweet.
All right. So yeah, every week we review a different Bronze Age comic from the 1970s and 1980s. Every week we rotate. This week was Mike-DELL's pick. Next week is my pick. So join us every week on Flea Market Fantasy, on Stitcher, Spotify. You can find us on iTunes. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Actually, our channel, I changed it to Flea Market Fantasy now, so it's easier to find.
Really?
And, yep. Yeah, it's Flea Market Fantasy, and Here Comes the Spider-Cast is its own channel now. Because
wow.
Yeah, it's
Look
just
at you.
Yeah, it's just easier, for people to find us now. So you watch those numbers skyrocket now that we've given it its own name, right?
Yeah, because originally, again, you had the 3 podcasts under one umbrella, but now without Quasar, you're like,
yeah, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so on that note, be sure to join us next week, and until next Tuesday, disperse!